Hi there. Once again, I've been inspired by design on Pinterest. Don't be put off by things with ruffles. As you can see in the drafting part of this video, ruffles are just rectangles. They're a snap to draft and just as easy to add to your garment. This is today's pattern. It has the neck ruffle and the waist ruffle and a little button band down the front. I used the elastic sleeve 18-inch dress bodice as my pattern base, but any round neck dress pattern will work. But you only need the 2 bodice pieces for this particular pattern hack. So you need a front and back bodice, and you just want the high round neck. And that's all you need to get started. So on this one, the neck ruffle is sewn to the inside and then turned to the outside and stitched down. So there's no fiddling around trying to get it in between the lining and the bodice. It's just folded straight over like binding and stitched down so that the seam is inside the top of the ruffle. I also made the waist ruffle with a little sort of pleat in it, which is like the design I saw on Pinterest. I've also made this one a lot shorter than the Pinterest design because I think short looks really cute on the dolls. It comes down just to cover the top of her shorts. I know that not everyone likes to create their own patterns, so I've bundled the top pattern pieces, the shorts pattern, and the little bow band pattern all on one listing in Etsy. So you'll get the top, the shorts, and the bow pattern all together in one listing on Etsy. Then I recommend you watch the whole drafting section all the way through. Then you collect up your bodice pattern pieces, 2 sheets of paper, pen, pencil and scissors, all ready so that you can draft a new pattern step by step just in one sitting. This time I'm doing a hack for a button-up blouse using a dress bodice as my initial design. So the blouse is going to look like this with button bands and the ruffles. It opens in the front and the back has the fold on the center back. So I've taken a dress pattern. This is a bodice for my 18-inch dress, and this one is the elastic sleeve front. You could use either of the fronts. One's a cuff sleeve, one's the elastic sleeve, but the bodice is the same. And I've just cut along the center front line here to separate them out, make it a bit easier. So my first one here is going to be the front. And I'm going to do the neck cutting line first. So at the center front, we're going to measure down 3/8 of an inch. That's there. And I'm going to put a dot 1/4 inch in. And draw a little horizontal line across there. So that's the beginning of my neck. Now we're going to put a dot where the neck and shoulder seam lines meet. So that's here. Sorry, that's here. So the neck and the shoulder seam lines. And we're going to draw a smooth curve from the shoulder cutting line through the dot and down to our little horizontal line. So I'm just going to sort of sketch that in, try and make it as smooth as possible. So this is my new neck cutting line. So it's just a bit lower than the original front. Now I'm going to do the armhole cutting line. So I'm going to put my ruler where the shoulder and the armhole cutting lines meet. So I'm going to put my ruler here and just go straight down from there and put a little mark. And then we're going to measure in 1/8 of an inch at the shoulder. So we just bring it in a little bit here. And I'm going to draw a smooth curve from the shoulder to the dot at the underarm. So we're going to, this is going to be the same line here, but we're going to just bring it in a little bit and join it in down there. So there's the armhole cutting line. So next we're going to sort out where the waist comes to. So I'm just going to measure up 1/2 inch from the bottom waist cutting line. And this is going to be my new waist cutting line. So next I'm going to cut it all out and trace it onto a clean sheet of paper, because it's a bit awkward when you start crossing everything out. So I'll come back in a second. So now I've cut out my new front bodice on the new cutting lines, and I'm going to trace it onto a fresh sheet of paper. So I'm just going to put it in the corner. Save me drawing those lines. I'm just tracing around it as close as I can get to the line. Okay, so now I've got a new front bodice to work with. I might leave it on there just while I'm ruling in the lines. We need to add the new seam lines. Now these don't have to be measured in 1/4 inch. You just need to know that you are allowed a 1/4 inch seam line. So that's why I'm putting them on, just to make sure that, yes, when I cut this out, I know I'm being allowed that 1/4 inch seam line. So we just go all the way around. Okay. And then we're going to add the new labels. So I like to have my things lined up so that when I lie on the fabric, it's going from the shoulder to the waist. So it will go that way, like the old one did. And I'm going to, what am I going to put on? I need to put in that it's 1804 pattern hack. Just so I know what pattern I used to start with. And this one is a Ruffle Blouse. I need to put in a grain line. We don't have a fold this time, so it's just the grain line. And that's probably all we need. Oh, I better write what, what piece it is. It's the front bodice. I should have fitted that in there, shouldn't I? I'm going to put it up the top. So front bodice. and we have to cut 2. All right, so this is not on the fold anymore, so we need to cut 2. So that's our front bodice. I'm going to cut that out, and then I'm going to start on the back. So here's my back piece, and the first thing I'm going to do is the neck cutting line. So all we need to do for that is, we'll do that in pencil, sorry, is draw over the seam line. So this is our new cutting line for the back neck. Okay, that was easy. Now we're going to put the ruler on the shoulder and armhole cutting line section like we did for the front, and just hold it so it goes straight down, and this is where we're going to join in our new armhole cutting line, and we're measuring 1/8 inch at the shoulder again. And we're going to draw a smooth curve from our 1/8 mark down to where we marked on the underarm, and the original first part stays the same. So that's the shoulder, or sorry, the armhole cutting line. And then the waist is 1/2 inch above the original waistline. Okay, so that was pretty quick and easy. So next I'm going to cut it out and trace it onto a piece of paper. I forgot to mention that because we're putting the back on the fold, we need to cut along the centre back line. So, and this is going to go on the fold. So we need to just cut that off there. So now I'm going to trace around this one. Put it in the corner again. So I've been reading this really interesting book by Julia Cameron. It's called Walking in This World, The Practical Art of Creativity. And it's interesting, before I started reading this, I guess if someone asked me what I did, I'd say, oh, I'm just retired. And kind of completely dismissing the idea that I was a designer. I'm a dolls clothes designer. I'm a creative artist kind of person, even though I'm not working for somebody else. All right, so this is going to be a fold line. So we need to draw that special grain line for a fold. Okay, so now I have to keep telling myself I am a designer. I am a dolls clothes designer and a digital designer. I design other digital things like planners and printable art and stuff like that. So I'm not just retired. I am a designer. And I don't know, it's sort of, you think, oh, well, it's pretty obvious, isn't it? But like I say, I considered myself retired from the job that I trained for, and almost, I don't know, I just seem to have ignored that I've spent 8 years teaching myself to be a designer, and I just have to be, I don't know, more self-confident and say, yes, I'm a designer. I'm not just some retired old lady. All right, so now I've put in all my seam lines, got my fold line. Now I'm going to get the name right this time. So now I've just got to put the labels on my back. I'm going to write fold here. And then I'm going to put 1804 pattern hack. And then Ruffle Blouse. And I'm going to remember to put back bodice on this one. And then cut 1 on fold. Okay, and that's all we need to do for that one. So now we've done the front and the back. And once I've cut this out, I'm just going to check that my shoulders are exactly the same. So I might need to just trim a tiny bit off my back neck for the back. So I'm just going to make sure that my shoulders are the same width. So when I cut this out, I'm just going to trim a tiny bit off there. And then we'll be done with the bodice. And we need to set up some rectangles for the front band and the 2 ruffles. So now I've just got the ruffles and the front bands to do, and they're just rectangles. Now this is the one I drew on my computer. I'm just sort of keeping that there for a reference. So we need a rectangle 2 3/4 by 6 1/4. So I'm going to go 2 3/4. So 1, 2 3/4. And just out here, I'm going to put another 2 3/4 mark so I can get my lines as parallel as possible with the edge of the paper. And we need 6 1/4. 6 1/4. All right, so I'm just going to cut that out. Okay, so I'm going to choose one end to put the fold. And as with the bodice, when I put this on the fabric, this is going to be the shoulder side and this is going to be the waist side. So the material all goes from left to right for me. So if there's any directional pattern, like this one has a directional pattern, so it just means that the pieces will all line up. Okay, so this one has to have a 1/2 inch double fold hem allowance to the right of my fold line. So this is the hem edge. So I just put a seam line for my hem allowance. So this is 1/4 inch double fold hem. Okay, so you fold it once to a 1/4 inch and then you fold it again on the 1/2 inch line. And it's going to be the 1804 pattern hack. Oh, I better put my other lines in, sorry. So we've got to put seam allowance on the other edges. So the other 2 edges are just 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay, and then we're going to turn it like this and write 1804 pattern hack. And it is the Ruffle Blouse. and this is the waist ruffle. And we need to cut 2 of these on the fold. So you need 2 pieces. So you're going to need 2 pieces this long, and we join them together. So that's the waist ruffle. All right, next up is the neck ruffle. And the neck ruffle is 1 5/8 inch by 8 1/4. So this is my reference up here. So 1 5/8 inches wide. So 1 5/8 by 8 1/4. So we'll just put another 1 5/8 inches mark up here. And we need 8 1/4. Okay, I'm just going to cut that out. Okay, so once again, this one goes on the fold. So I'm going to draw my fold line in. And then to the right of that will be the double fold hem allowance of 1/2 inch. And then we have 1/4 inch seam allowances on the other 2 edges. Okay, so you notice on this one, I've got extra lines marked. So they're the marks for the gathering rows. So the neck gathering rows have to go 1/2 inch in. So I'm going to just put a solid red line for my first neck gathering row. And then the second one, it can go on the seam line, but if we do it just inside the seam line, we won't get any threads showing for this one. Okay, so we're going to put our labels on. It's going to be 1804 pattern hack. And it's going to be Ruffle Blouse. And this is the neck ruffle. And we cut 1 on the fold. And this part is the double fold hem. All right, so now we just need to put a name on these gathering lines. Gathering row, 1/2 inch in. and the other one, gathering row, 3/16 in. Okay, so now we've got the waist ruffle and the neck ruffle. Next is the front band. Okay, front band. I'm just using this for my reference. We need a rectangle 5 inches by, I haven't written this down, 5 inches by 1 7/8. So 5 inches by 1 7/8. Okay, so I'll cut that one out. Okay, now this one has, we're going to put it like this. Sorry, I'm just checking where the grain line goes. Okay, so this one has to go the same direction as the bodice so that our directional fabric will work. So I'm going to put the grain line in straight away so I don't get confused. Okay, this one has 1/4 inch seam line on 3 sides. Now, I think I said before that measuring the 1/4 inch doesn't matter. You just need to put your ruler on so that when you come to cut it out, you know there is a 1/4 inch seam allowance allowed. Okay, now there's 2 folds for the button band. It's basically 1/3 of the band, so it's going to be a 1/2 inch. And my fold lines I do with long dashes and another 1/2 inch. Okay, so this one is called 1804 Pattern Hack. And it is the Ruffle Blouse, button band, cut 2. Okay, so that's our 3 rectangles, and that's all we need. We've got our 3 rectangles and our 2 bodice pieces. So they're all the pieces you need for this ruffle blouse. And that's how easy it is to draft your own pattern. Don't worry about how it all comes together either, because I've created a step-by-step photo tutorial showing exactly how to sew it up. You'll find the link in the video description. The outfit you see here is the top with the paper bag shorts from another one of my pattern hacks. If you're not inclined to draft your own pattern pieces, I've created an Etsy listing that includes all you need to make this 3-piece outfit with the little shorts, the top and the headband. You can check it out by clicking on the link in the video description. And before you leave, you should subscribe to my channel so you won't miss any new pattern hacks or fashion hacks. And I wish you happy doll dressmaking from Val Spears Sews.